What is up, ladies and gentlemen? This is the fifth episode of Hot Takes. So, welcome to the people who are watching live. Welcome to the people who are watching on the replay, because I know there's going to be a lot more. But today we're going to be doing Phase 4 yet again, which is unfortunate because I absolutely hate this phase. I think there's only like a couple of things I like, as I mentioned in the previous episode. So, essentially, we're going to be doing the same thing, talking about the problems of the 2022 movies and shows, which includes Moon Knight, Doctor Strange, Miss Marvel, Thor, She-Hulk, and Black Panther. We won't be touching too much on Werewolf by Night and the Guardian special, but we will mention them. Hopefully, the show is a little bit shorter than last week, so it should be maybe just like an hour and 30 minutes. If not, an hour and 40. But now I want to introduce our guests. We have two guests, possibly one, we'll see. But we got Finbarr Saunders. So what's good, Finbarr?
Yo, how's it going, Blinded?
Pretty good, pretty good. Kind of low energy, but we're still gonna do the show.
Yeah, I'm feeling that too.
Yeah, so it might be a little bit slower pace, but it's okay. Then we got, the boss man, my boss, TonyTGD. I can't even speak. TonyTGD. Good Lord.
Don't be nervous because you're running the show.
I'm like tripping over my
Yeah, he's
words.
not your boss tonight, man.
Yeah, you're
Well,
the boss
he's
tonight.
still the
Boss
boss.
tonight.
He's still the boss. I got to give him his due. So, what's good, Tony?
Nothing. Just chilling. I was playing some Mortal Kombat earlier.
Nice.
The fucking story is convoluted as all hell. Apparently,
Is that 11?
yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. I just needed some water. Yeah. So, what you weren't here last week, Tony? So, I want to hear your thoughts on Phase 4 because you're the big Marvel guy. So,
Oh, you know me. I love everything Marvel.
yes,
I think Phase 4 overall is probably the second best phase. I know.
second best phase. Damn.
Second best. Yeah, because Phase 1 was good. It set everything up. It's probably my favorite phase. Phase 2 wasn't that great.
Yeah, Phase 2 for me wasn't that great, but even though Phase 4 has like a lot of stuff going on, and I mean, it could have been good. I just think the projects themselves weren't the greatest, as we'll get into, because I feel like this year was, for 2022 at least, was a crap show compared to 2021.
I don't know how anybody puts Phase 4 ahead of Phase 2.
No, yeah,
Winter Soldier, Guardians.
and yeah, it's just.
Well, that's Phase 3, isn't it?
No, that's Phase
That's
2.
No, that's 3.
The
Winter
first
Soldier.
Guardians.
Oh, okay,
Winter
yeah,
Soldier
yeah.
and the
First
first
Guardians.
Guardians
Yeah.
are
I'm
Phase
thinking
2.
of Civil War.
No, yeah.
The big Marvel guy, yeah.
He forgets. Oh man.
It's because they have these weird end points and start points as to where the fucking phases. They should end on big movies. They shouldn't be like, oh, Black Panther is the end of the phase. That's not like a.
Yeah, this has been a
Well, it's a departure
weird one.
because the last Phase 1, 2, and 3 they had the Avengers movies ended, which makes more sense.
No, Phase 2
They
ended with
didn't.
Ant-Man.
Phase 2 ended with Ant-Man.
Oh yeah, right. But I mean, like that's kind of like
See?
the
And
epilogue.
Spider-Man capped off Phase
Yes.
3.
They call it like an epilogue, but yeah, I completely forgot. But like normally we would get
Normally,
Avengers movie.
there is no normal because again, you had 2 epilogues. The only one that ended on an Avengers was the first phase.
yes. But I feel like if you're gonna wrap up a phase, it should be with an Avengers movie, even if the other
That feels
two
like the
didn't do it.
natural end. Yeah,
Yes.
I know what you're saying.
Because then you have the big arc, and we haven't seen the team at all. Like, who's on the Avengers? I hope it's not like Shang-Chi and She-Hulk, and because
Oh,
like
it is. You know it's going to be.
it's gonna be so lame seeing those characters. I don't even know how they're gonna interact. Like,
Well,
I'm not a
Shang-Chi
fan.
was supposed to be in the original Avengers, so he's finally getting his
Yes,
due.
he was. Oh man, I guess we should start off with the first show of this year, 2022, which is my least favorite anything Marvel related, Moon Knight. I do not like the show at all. I do not understand why people like it. I mean, maybe if you aren't familiar with the character, but this to me is the first time I feel like Marvel has absolutely butchered a character. It's so nothing like Moon Knight at all. So, what's your thoughts on Moon Knight, Finbar?
Right, okay. Taking it away from separating it from the comics for a minute, I didn't dislike the show itself. I thought the ending was weak, as most of these shows have been. But
Yes.
taking it away from the comics, because I know what you're saying, it's a departure from it. I actually liked the show for what it was. I thought it was okay. I liked Oscar Isaac. I liked him doing the English accent as well. I actually had to. This is how good his English accent was. I had to look up to see
if
he was an English guy doing doing an American accent. That's how good it was.
Oh man!
And you can ask Bob, as a native English speaker, how fucking close his accent was to English. It was really, really close.
That's interesting. I would have never thought you guys thought it was real.
But I actually but I actually thought the villain was all right as well. I thought, I know he wasn't really anything in the comics, was he? The character.
He does briefly appear. I thought they were going to merge him with a new recent character, like I guess his name would be like the Sun King, or I thought he was also going to be Shadow Knight, or like they were going to get rid of the connection with his brother and just make him into another Moon Knight, right? Because that's what Marvel does, right?
Yeah.
So we didn't get that. Yeah, he's kind of more. I don't even know what to describe him. He's like a cult leader, therapist, but not really.
Is it a cult?
It was a cult in the beginning. Yes.
I don't know if it's a cult. I mean, usually we think of cults as like being fake, right? Like there really was an Egyptian god. He really did have powers. So it's like
he had real motivations. It wasn't.
Yeah.
I still think it would be considered a cult because it's like he's got to get followers and there's worshipers and stuff. Even if it was real, right? Like,
so is Christianity a cult?
Let's swerve away from.
It depends. I mean, like I mean the whole cult angle is interesting. It just wasn't explored, right? Because like it should have been like they were like rabid and just like that to me is like more cult like, where it's like you can't really agree to disagree. You're just like, no, this is the truth, and you can't accept it. And so I guess that's like one of the first problems I would say is obviously the villain. And to be honest, to be honest, I don't know why you would start off with that villain for Moon Knight, right? Like if people are not familiar with the comics, like they haven't been reading the recent Moon Knight runs, right? It doesn't really make sense to just jump into all of the therapy stuff and or even
the Mr. Knight stuff as well.
All of that.
That was Ellis, wasn't it?
Yes, that started with Ellis.
And that's quite late, yeah.
Yeah, all of like you should have had Bushman as the villain. Like,
yeah,
he's that's where it starts, right? And because the show is like has to grapple with all these, well, it has to grapple with the origin of what Moon Knight is, and then you have to deal with his multiple personalities. Then you have his relationship, and then you have all the stuff with the Egyptian gods, which is another thing I did not like. Right, Moon Knight was always kind of ambiguous. Right, it was not like maybe Khonshu is real, maybe he's not. Possibly is, but it's not clear to everybody else. And I mean, they tried introducing that in the comics recently with the Age of Khonshu, which was it was so terrible. Oh my god! But I don't know. How do you feel about Khonshu being real or ambiguous, Tony? Because I know that's something that is in the older Moon Knight, it's a little bit different, right? So
yeah, originally, I mean, obviously, Khonshu has to be real because they establish in the older Marvel comics that all the gods are real; they exist in some form, and so he was real. It wasn't until I think like the mid run of Moon Knight where they're like, well, maybe he was just crazy and Khonshu wasn't really talking to him. Like Khonshu's real, but like the fact that he was talking to Moon Knight might have been like the part that wasn't real. And I think they should have played more with that angle. Like, yeah, Khonshu exists, but maybe he's just crazy and he's thinking that Khonshu's talking to him when he's really not. I think that would have been a better angle to go with.
Yes.
I didn't like the quote unquote, I'm gonna say quote unquote fight scenes, because it's like, hey, we're gonna get into a fight. Oh, look, the fight's over, and now I'm in a truck. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, that was annoying.
Yeah, that was really annoying because they did it like 3-4 times. Like, especially when you get to the ending where you're like,
including the ending. Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, we want to see a fight scene, and then it's a setup for a potential second season, which was so bizarre. Really, really bizarre.
What they should have done, I could have understood what they were trying to do. Like, oh, he didn't remember the fight scene because it wasn't him fighting, right? So
Mhm.
what they should have did was they should have had that blacked out, and then later on, like say the bad guy's looking at a a monitor. Oh, let's see what happened. Then you get to see the fight through like say CCTV or something. So we still as an audience get to see the fight, but just the character doesn't get to remember the fight, right?
Yes.
Because I still want to see the action. I didn't want to like, oh, okay, there was action off screen.
Yeah, it kind of makes me wonder, like, did they film a fight scene and then just cut it out later, or was this like the original intention? Like, was this like, oh, it's a budget restriction? It's I understand. Yes, I mean, it's shown to us in the story, but people want to see people fighting. It's a comic book show, like especially it's Marvel, right? So I feel like that it's a disconnect, and I also think another thing that I have an issue with is definitely Stephen Grant's and Mark Spector and obviously Jake Lockley whenever he is eventually going to show up. Like, I feel like you should have introduced them more, right? Like, play with their identity and kind of not have Stephen Grant be the POV character, because that's another thing that I don't like about these recent Marvel shows is that they go with someone who's more comedic and not someone who's not comedic. They're more serious. And Mark Spector is a lot more interesting than Stephen Grant, right? Because he has to deal with all the personalities and he's the one with the trauma, right? So why would you start off with Stephen Grant just so, the audience is more uh I don't know what the word would be, but like they're more comfortable with him than Mark. I don't know. How do you guys feel about this?
Well, Stephen Grant's the dominant personality in the Mr. Knight.
Yeah.
He isn't in the comics, is he?
He is in the comics. Stephen
He
Grant
is in the
is.
comics.
Yes,
Right.
it's just changed. Stephen Grant in the comics is like he's like a movie producer and he's like a billionaire. He's the one that has most of the money, and so they kind of use him to generate his income. So then he can obviously make some of the tech that he eventually has, right?
But yeah, I agree. I would have rather had the focus be on Mark Spector from the outset because he is the main character.
Yeah, he's the main character, and he's, in my opinion, he's a lot more interesting than some of the MCU characters that we've gotten so far. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not, but what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, he is. I suppose he is.
Tony, what do you think?
I mean, in theory, he is. I mean, not what they shown.
Yeah, not what they've shown. Yes.
Yeah, they're keeping him quite ambiguous at the minute, aren't they? They've not delved really deep into his backstory.
Yes.
We know more about the Stephen character than we do about Mark Spector.
Mark Spector, yeah. I mean, we did get, and this is another thing about the show, right? It's they showed us the origin of when he becomes Moon Knight, right? That he dies and then he's resurrected. And then you also have the fact that they showed where his personality disorder comes from, right? Where it's like, oh, he was abused by his mother and he had kind of a bad relationship with his dad, even though he was on good terms with his dad. And obviously this is because his brother died and they blame it on him. So again, this is all layers upon the character, right? Usually with something like I don't know, with Shang-Chi, it's just him and his dad, and that's where he eventually becomes the character that we know, right? The hero. Whereas Moon Knight, it's like, okay, you have obviously the mom stuff, then you have his actual becoming a superhero. So there's so many layers to the character, and it makes sense for a TV show, right? But it wasn't structured and organized properly. So yeah, this is where I think the fix would come in is essentially I would just have the show start off with his origin. He's a mercenary, he's working with Bushman. You can maybe change I think his love interest in the comics was like Marlene, Is it Marlene or
Yeah.
it starts with an M?
Yeah,
Right.
I think it was Marlene.
Change her out. You can have the love interest that's actually in the show, and just sort of build up to like, oh, Mark is a really bad guy, right? But he's kind of likable in some sense, right? And eventually it catches up with him, and now you he has to track down Bushman. But here's the thing: now we're starting to be introduced into the personality disorder, right? So it's almost like an obstacle in his way to getting Bushman, right? Just sort of like as a premise idea, right? Because I didn't necessarily mind the jumping back and forth with the personalities. I just think it should just go right back to Mark Spector, right? Like Mark Spector is the POV character, not Stephen Grant. And also just get rid of the whole jokey Mr. Knight thing. Like it should be this should be a semi-serious show. This shouldn't be like every other MCU show, right? So but what do you guys think? What would you change? I'm curious.
You want to go
Finbar.
first, Finbar?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I would. I don't know if I agree that I would shuffle it all and make it back in order again, because this is the complaint we had about She-Hulk, that we should have watched that out of order. So I think this show lends itself more to being out of order than what She-Hulk did,
Yeah.
because there's a bit of mystery in what's happening. But did we get to see? I don't actually remember. Did we get to see Bushman? Because Bushman is who kills him, isn't it? Double crosses him and kills him.
No,
we didn't get to see him.
We don't get to see him
So
at all.
I think they're saving him for later. I think that will be happening later on. You'll get the backstory to that if we haven't actually seen anybody cast in the role or anything like that.
Yeah,
I think we'll get to see it later, and I would be disappointed if we didn't, because
I mean, I feel like he's not even set up all that well in the show.
well, he's not. But that's why they're leaving it open to explore it later, because he is his Joker.
Yeah,
So
kind of. Yeah.
I'm sure we're going to get to see a whole season of it. I think that's why they just left it out.
Well, they said they might not come back for a second season.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will.
Who knows?
I'll be shocked if it doesn't.
It should come back. I mean, like now after watching the show, people are kind of interested in the character, even if it's not. I know people don't care about comic book accuracy, but to me at least, too unfocused, jamming in too many different ideas from the comics instead of just picking one comic and just taking loose inspiration from it. But
I'm sure we'll at the very least see either a special or a movie. I'm sure the character will be back in his own title for sure.
I think he might appear in Captain America 4. That's my theory. I don't know if I just have a feeling that he's going to be on the West Coast Avengers, and that's the team that Falcon is going to assemble.
Like the comics.
Yes. I mean, it makes sense. But we would, at that point, we would need a season 2, right? Because then it's like, well, where does season 2 take place? So, what's your thoughts, Tony? You were kind of quiet.
Oh man, this show was so much wasted potential. So much. I would redo the whole thing. Like I know we're trying to fix, right? But if you're gonna fix this needs a whole new rewrite.
Yes.
Like you said, I wouldn't have really touched on the Stephen Grant or the Jake Lockley stuff. I would have focused on Mark Spector, hinted at the other personalities, maybe something along the lines of, he's checking his mail and he's like, why do I keep getting these like letters, his wrong address, like he's putting the mail back in. Oh, this isn't me, right? Like, because everybody gets wrong mail, so most people wouldn't have thought about it. Like us. We'd be like, oh, that's because he's really, Jake Lockley also, he's really Stephen Grant. But other people would have just dismissed it until later. And I would have focused on him being a superhero and not really give the backstory of, the mom and all that, where he gets his split personality, because that would be like the big reveal at the end, right? Oh, shit. He is actually Stephen Grant. There's more to him than just some guy beating up criminals on the street of Chicago.
Kind of like a Fight Club, I guess. Yeah. I was expecting a kind of a Fight Club moment. I don't know if they thought it was too predictable or cliche, but I always like that kind of twist. I mean, there's another show that did that, Mr. Robot, and it was pretty good. So, it's just kind of unfortunate. I mean, this is one of my favorite Marvel characters. I got to read a lot of him compared to a lot of other characters, and I just think he's very interesting. And I also think before we move on to Doctor Strange, I feel like listening to some of the writers and the directors on Moon Knight and how they were like, oh, we wanted to get away from the Batman comparison. I think that was hindered the show, right? Because I don't think a lot of people would be like, oh my god, I'm not going to watch Moon Knight because it's a copy of Batman. Like, I just feel like people would kind of be a lot more interested if it was, oh, this is Marvel's Batman, right? Even though it's obviously not like Batman at all, right? There's a lot more changes and such besides him being a vigilante, right? So I really dislike that they were so harping on that point that they had to almost strip away the character and make him into this Egyptian god-like superhero that could take damage. And like, what was that all about, where he got like all these rods stuck in him and then he could just like pull it out? It was like,
regenerate.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was much more OP than he was in the comics.
He's like a mummy now. He's undead.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I mean, if it was like he's the Mummy meets Batman, maybe. I don't know. It just
His costume was cool though. I did like the costume.
Cool. The costume, the casting, yeah, those were good. Everything else, not a fan. Not a fan.
Well, they should have connected it because they were going to have a Werewolf by Night special.
Yes,
right? That was
I'm sure I said
Yes.
that. I'm sure I said I would have liked to have seen Moon Knight pop up in Werewolf by Night because that's where he debuted.
Yeah, they should have at least either
That's a good
hinted
point.
at
That's a
it
good
in Moon Knight in some aspect or in the other one.
Yeah, in the recent Moon Knight run, they actually had an annual where it was Werewolf by Night, and he was kind of tracking down Moon Knight. So it was almost like the in reverse, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's also something I didn't even really think about. Yeah, they should have done that.
And another thing they should have did, I think, because Kang, again, we're going by Marvel saying they have a plan, they know what's coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
If Kang was coming, they should have hinted at Rama Tut in
Yes.
the, Moon Knight, because he's Egyptian, right? So he's like, oh, this is a connection, and why Moon Knight would eventually get involved in the whole Kang Dynasty Avengers shit.
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
They may do some of that later though. If what Blinded is saying is true and he pops up in another franchise, they may connect him that way. Then maybe just this show was too soon.
I mean, there is a rumor. Obviously, it's a rumor. Take it with a grain of salt that that variant of Kang would appear in Fantastic Four, because that might deal with like some time travel stuff. But I mean, you never know. I mean, it would be. I definitely believe that they're going to use the character, though, right? We're going to see that version of Kang.
Yeah,
right?
I think you'll see all versions of him at some point.
And new versions or whatever it may be.
But it would have been real simple because, again, in the comics, they tell you that Hawkeye creates the weapons that Moon Knight uses, and it's during a time travel mission. So they could have just had something where, like, he's looking at some ancient Egyptian artifacts, and he's like, oh, this is from the Rama Tut dynasty, and no one can explain how they were able to figure out this, whatever, right? Like, why is this so precise? And, again, people like us were like, oh, shit, we were all excited, and it's normal people would have just not really got it until later.
Mm-hmm.
They made changes like that before that kind of pissed me off, where Hank Pym wasn't involved in Ultron, when it was just Tony Stark and Bruce Banner. That pissed me off a little bit. And also that Ant-Man never showed up. Yeah, and that Ant-Man wasn't on the original Avengers either. That sort of pissed me off.
Yeah, they always make those kind of... Like, I understand why you made the change, but I feel like if it's something that's in the comics and it just works, why change it, right? Just keep it for the sake of the story. Like, I can understand maybe not... They wanted to use Ant-Man and the Wasp in the original Avengers, but they ended up going with just... I think they weren't going to have Hulk originally, which would have been, again, stupid, because he's an original
Hulk was original. Hulk was going to be the main focus of the Avengers in the original.
Because I remember reading Joss Whedon was saying he wasn't going to have Hulk, he was going to have Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Right, but that wasn't the original plan. The first the first incarnation of the Avengers that they had conceived was going to be centered around the Hulk because he was the biggest
Mm.
character they had access to. This was prior to Iron Man coming back. And all the other.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I didn't even know that. I might have to look into that.
Yeah, supposedly it
That's
was going to be
interesting.
Doctor Strange, the Hulk, Power Pack, Shang-Chi.
Oh man. Power
Like-
Pack.
Yeah, I'm glad that never happened.
Yeah,
it
that's
was like one other weird character. Is like because that's all they had at the time. That's the only movies, the only characters they had access to.
they
in
had.
movies.
Oh man. Oof. We dodged a bullet. We
Oh,
definitely
everything
dodged a
else was
bullet.
chopped up and farmed out at that point, was it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, but to go back what you were saying with the Ultron thing, it would have been real simple, right? You could say that Tony Stark created Ultron, but it would have been real simple for him to say, "Hey, I found an old schematic on
That's what I thought they were going to do.
on the
Now that you
shield
mention
thing,
it,
right? You know,
because the
From Hank
synopsis
Pym,
for it,
yes.
if you remember the synopsis for it, there was something along the lines of Tony Stark restarts an old
yeah.
program, and I thought, all right, that's Hank Pym's thing. Didn't even do that.
And
Yeah,
Ant-Man
yeah.
came out in the same year too, which is weird. Like, why not tie those two movies together?
Because they just wanted to focus all on RDJ. They wanted Iron Man became super focused, like he was like everything, the most important thing in the Avengers.
I had an idea. I know we're jumping back into phase one here, but I had an idea that would have been really cool for the Ant-Man film. Would have been part of the film shows you that he's in the Battle of New York, but he's so small you can't see him getting involved in things. So things like drop out of the sky because he's beating them up. And I just thought that would have been cool if he
That
was
would
part
have
of the
been
Avengers,
funny.
but you didn't know.
That'd be hilarious. I mean, someone had that idea too for Endgame, where they could like retroactively put in characters that weren't there because they were like off in the distance and you couldn't
Yeah.
see them. Yeah, I think that would be kind of funny. I kind of want to see it. I'm not gonna lie, but
That's the kind of thing Edgar Wright would have done.
yes, yeah. Oh man, I wish we got that movie.
Well, they could, again, not to jump way back to phase one, but they could definitely retcon and say, hey, while the Avengers were here, and this is what you were watching, like on the other side of the city, there was more Chitauri warriors, and like these other people were saving lives.
Yeah, they could have done. I thought they would have done that with
funny.
the Defenders.
I just think it'd have been funny if he was actually in that battle, like on the end of Hawkeye's arrow, and shit like that.
Beating up,
body slamming these big.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna watch the footage. I'm gonna increase it. Like there he is, right there. That spec. That's
Ant-Man. Oh
CGI him in.
Yeah.
Oh god. But moving on to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Probably this is going to be kind of interesting because a lot of Marvel fans hate this movie. I have no, I mean, well, I know why, but I kind of disagree. I mean, the movie's not bad. I just think a lot of people had high expectations for this movie. They thought this was going to be like an Avengers level movie with all these cameos, which it was, but it wasn't enough, right? So what do you guys think about this movie?
I thought this
Finbarr?
was,
yeah.
well, I think this was probably the best that we've had this phase.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
There's not a lot of it changed. I thought it was all right. I did expect, obviously they ruined the Patrick Stewart cameo, and I think I'd heard already that they were bringing back Black Bolt, and they were going to have a Reed Richards cameo.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the rest of them, the cameos, I don't think were that big a deal. I don't think Captain Carter or the other Captain Marvel was much of a surprise.
Yes, and we got remember Tony who said it was going to be Iron Man.
Yeah. So you had people.
It would have been a lot better.
Bad takes. It would have been, but it wasn't.
It would have been.
It was a wrong take as usual from Tony.
It wasn't wrong. I mean, it was just.
Well, you were
going,
wrong.
Hey, I think this wasn't me going. Hey, I think this is whatever, good or bad. That's a bad take. I didn't make a take. I just made a prediction.
But there were other people saying, "Oh, there'll be a Tobey Maguire cameo. He'll be back." And
I think that was the big one people thought would have been.
People were expecting that, yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people also were kind of expecting like a Ghost Rider just because of the horror theme, but it just didn't make sense. It's like, okay, why would these characters appear? What do they have to do with Doctor Strange besides Sam Raimi, the connection with Sam Raimi, and it being a horror movie. So I'm not like too big. I didn't. Here's the thing. I didn't even really like the cameos that they had in it. Like I hated who's the guy? John Krasinski as Krasinski, whatever it is. I'm sorry, butchering names all the time. But I didn't like him as Reed Richards at all.
No, I'm not. Listen, I'm not against him being Reed Richards as long as he's not Captain America. I don't think he would have fit that.
I don't think he should play any major Marvel character. I just don't like him as an actor. I think he's good at comedy, which is fine, but if he's in a serious role, I just can't take him serious. It's just like
you're probably used to. I think you're probably used to watching him then, right? So I'm not. I didn't watch The American Office.
Yeah, maybe it's that, but
and he wasn't playing it. He wasn't playing it for laughs in Doctor Strange for the short time he was in it.
Yeah, he just didn't really strike me as like, oh, if this was our Reed Richards in the MCU, I would kind of be very disappointed. Or I'd be like, he just doesn't. I don't know. He just doesn't have that spark, and he doesn't really appear like Reed Richards to me.
But he doesn't look like he will be, and it would not really make much sense for him to be now that he's had his head popped.
Yeah,
I know he's an alternate universe, but that was pretty definitive getting rid of him. That was just for the fans, I think, or for the fans that wanted to see him.
Yes. Yeah. And what do you think about this, Tony? Reed Richards.
Oh, I always hated John Krasinski as Reed Richards.
Yes, thank you. So many people like that choice. I don't understand. It just doesn't.
But you know he was close to Captain America, though, right?
I know he was close. There's a lot of people who are close to Captain America. I am glad he was not Captain America.
That would have been terrible.
Yeah. Jim from The Office should not be a superhero.
I wouldn't have mind Jason Ackles as Captain America. He's very similar to Chris Evans.
Well, he basically plays Captain America in
The Boys, but normal Captain America, I could kind of see it.
Jensen Ackles would have been good for what's his name? U.S. Agent.
Yeah.
Walker, yeah.
He probably would have been better than the guy that we actually got. Yes.
Wyatt Russell.
Like Wyatt Russell's not a bad actor, but he was not how I imagine U.S. Agent. He was
all of Wyatt Russell's facial features are all too close together.
That mask makes him look so weird.
Weird, yes.
Yeah, he looks weird in the mask.
Yeah, no offense to him, but it does look.
No, he's a handsome man, but his face is too close together.
It just looks weird. Yeah, I remember that meme that people were like, "Oh, he looks like the Captain America at Disneyland." Which is
no, they were all people were saying he looks like that. Is it Up? Is that the name of the animation?
Yeah.
He's got that sort of face.
Up? Oh, okay.
The old guy.
Yeah.
I didn't see that one. That's actually kind of funny. Oh boy. But yeah, as for the cameos, Professor X coming back, I think that was pretty obvious, right? He's an X-Men character, he's the lead. Most people recognize him, so it makes sense to bring him back. The other characters like Black Bolt, who the fuck cares? I really do not care about Black
I like
Bolt
that.
at all.
I like that because he was in costume.
I mean, it was
just
cool.
Because of the Illuminati. That's all.
Yeah, it's because of the Illuminati. But then at the same time, they didn't. If you're going to do the Illuminati, right? Why not have the actual team again?
Yeah.
Namor came out in the same year. Why not put him in there, right? Like, I don't understand. Like, are they going to do a 616 Illuminati?
No, they're going to do a Cabal.
Did you think, Tony? I can't remember what you said. Did you think the Iron Man was going to, because Iron Man was original Illuminati? Do you think he was going to be RDJ, or did you think it was going to be somebody else?
I thought it was going to be Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. I think a lot of people thought that.
I'm not sure if you guys seen, but there's concept art. It wasn't going to be Iron Man. It was going to be Ironmonger, and it was supposed to be
Stain.
Yes. So I think if they were to get Tom Cruise, he would have played. He would have looked like Tony Stark, but he was not Tony Stark. At that point, why even bother, right?
I don't know if Stain would have been a clever enough character to put on the Illuminati. No. It had to be Stark.
Yeah, that it just seems like weird.
Well, I think that whole thing was wasted, and there was no point into it. It was just like, hey, look, we got all these cameos in the middle.
It was canon. It was canon fodder for Scarlet Witch. which is
Yeah,
another.
but it doesn't even make sense
It
because
doesn't make sense. Yeah.
okay, so we know who Captain Marvel is, so it's kind of like all right, we can understand her abilities, right? But as
Mhm.
far as the general audience knows, probably no one watched Inhumans, so they didn't really like. Oh wow, why was that cool that she killed him, right? Or why was that impressive?
Mhm.
Do they really know who Reed Richards is, and why is it impressive that she killed him? He didn't do anything other than, hey, don't do that. Oh, now I'm dead.
Yeah. I think the change that I would have made here, obviously I think this would have been impossible, but it should have been her killing the Avengers. That would kind of make more sense, like because we've already seen the Avengers and we know that, oh my god, like how could he kill Thor and
Yeah,
Hulk, and like that is more impressive, right? And it would have been a lot more interesting to see. But
It would have been, yeah, it would have been interesting to see her kill them, having teamed with them.
and I hope they eventually do that, right? Because they could, like, we need to at least see Kang kill them, right?
yeah.
Because then that would be a big deal. Oh my god,
Yeah.
like he actually succeeded where Thanos failed, right?
Well, that's what he tells Ant-Man in the trailer, right?
Mhm.
What
But I
they
mean,
should,
don't say it. You got to show us.
yeah. But what they should have did was, if they wanted to do like alternate versions, like to show it's the multiverse, they could have been the Avengers, but like Captain Carter instead of Captain America,
Mhm.
Lady Thor instead of regular Thor, like switch it up a little bit. So like, oh, these are the Avengers. You know their powers, you know their abilities, but they're different. So then you could be like, oh, well, that's why she beat them. Like you can have like the little wiggle room. Like, oh, maybe she couldn't
Mhm.
have beat the real Avengers. Maybe she could only beat the alternate reality Avengers.
Mm. Yeah, that either or, whatever which way, I feel like the Avengers, to some capacity, should have been the ones dying in this movie.
Yeah. And you could have used that to introduce other characters, right? Could you imagine
Yes.
if like you showed Red Hulk, you're like, oh shit, Red Hulk, and then like when he comes out in the new Captain America movie, you're like, oh, that's where he's from.
Hmm.
That's who he is.
Kind of like a Black Panther situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would have made a lot more sense. And the original people who are on the Illuminati before we got Reed Richards and Black Bolt, again, just random. Like, why was Balder the Brave on the Illuminati? Like, what were they thinking when they were like, oh, we should do that? It just seems like the
Wasn't it
characters.
Daniel Craig or something?
It was Daniel Craig, yeah. It's like really bizarre choice. Like that to me is like fan service at its worst, because then you're like, okay, I know who Balder the Brave is, but like, why is he here?
Because he
Right.
was in the Thor movie in the background.
In the
He
just
was.
like,
They actually they list somebody as Balder in the original Thor.
just save that character. Like that character should have been in a Thor movie front and center a long time ago, right? Like, don't put him in a Doctor Strange movie and then kill him off. I mean, I'm glad we didn't get it, but it's still weird that they were intending that. So yeah, I don't like the cameos. Could have been better. The other thing that I did not like about this movie that I would have changed
The heel
is
turn.
the whole American Chavez plot needed to change a lot. Because her character, I understand that she is the center of the plot. She's the MacGuffin of she's the MacGuffin, right? They
Yeah.
need her, and all of this is happening just because of her, right? But my issue is that we didn't really. I don't care. Like, if I'm being honest, I don't care. I'm not. This, we're being introduced to the character. She's not like the comics at all, right? Obviously, she has some of the powers and stuff, but we need to like get to know her before we can really care, right? So it's like maybe Wanda could kill her, right? I care more about Wanda than America Chavez, right? Just because she's a kid, right? Like they were trying to say, oh, well, she's a kid, we need to protect her, and it's like, can you come up with something else?
I don't know. A Hispanic character illegally traveling through dimensions.
Oh man. What do you think about that, Finbarr?
Nah, she never bothered me. So I think she's going to be quite important to
Going forward,
Secret Wars. Yeah, Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, because I think she's what will bring the Iron Mans and the Black Widows and all them back for the big finale.
possibly.
So no, she didn't really bother me too much. Yeah, her backstory was there was a lot of stuff they could have just cut out and not bothered with. There was other stuff they could have explained better.
Well, I mean,
But
the movie's
there was a
called
lot
Doctor
going on.
Strange, right?
Yeah, there was a lot going on in it as well, so they had limited time to deal with it.
It just feels like this is a character that, because she was supposed to be in No Way Home. There was like concept art, and she was
Yeah.
there. I feel like if we already knew that she existed, she was Doctor Strange's new apprentice, right? And she just kind of randomly appears, and it's like, oh, it's just like a side little thing that was in No Way Home, and then we get to see, oh, actually, who are you, right? Like, uh, why did you come here, right? So there's more investigation, and now there's maybe a little bit more stakes, right? Because he kind of got used to her. Again, we wouldn't have seen that, right? Them getting to know each other and the relationship building, but I feel like she should have been introduced already. Like that's kind of how I feel like. And also too, I feel like it's a Doctor Strange movie where it's like I want the focus to be on Doctor Strange. It's been so long since we gotten a solo movie for him, so it's like, and I just feel like there's so much other things happening in the movie where he's not the main focus, and he doesn't even really. I mean, he has an arc, but he doesn't really have an arc. It's almost like, oh, he's going to be a father figure, and that's it. It's like, oh, and he has to deal with getting over his like breakup, and it's like,
Everybody's getting over their
Yeah,
breakup in the
he should have
MCU.
been over that. He should
yeah,
have been over that by now.
yeah, exactly. Why, why is that still a problem for him? It's been how many years,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I think they really dropped the ball because part of the movie tells you that Doctor Strange can't be in love with this other Rachel because she's another
Mm.
reality and she's not really the same person, right? They kind of hammer home that point. But then at the same time, Scarlet Witch wants those other children that aren't her children. They're from another reality and they're not really hers. And he just kind of like gloss over that fact, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
But
What
the reason why that doesn't bother me is because also the reason why her going really really bad off the deep end doesn't bother me is because the explanation is the Darkhold's corrupted her,
Yeah, but if that was
and
the
I'm
case,
happy to accept that.
if she was okay, so I would accept it if she was gathering every version of her children, right, to protect every version. But it was just like she just grabbed onto just this one reality's version, and that was it.
Hmm.
And it makes no sense why this particular one, right? There's so many different versions of children. Either
Or
she should
why
have
not?
protected all of them.
Why not look for? I mean, she was looking for her kids, but if you have the ability to go into the multiverse, why not also find Vision?
Yeah,
It just feels,
he was pushed to the side like he didn't matter anymore.
yeah, it feels so disconnected and really weird. Like it was almost like they were trying to come up with something
Yeah. Well,
for her.
what I would have did if we're gonna change things, right? We're gonna
Mhm.
fix it. The fix I would have had was instead of her going to another reality to take what the hell are their name, Billy
Yeah, I always forget the other kid's name.
and Billy and the other
The
kid.
speed character. Yeah,
Wiccan and
Wicked and Speed.
Yeah. What I would have did was I would have said that she was actually going to steal the souls, that she was going to pull all the bits and souls from the other realities and
Mhm.
resurrect her children in the 616 or whatever the hell the designation is, right? The main
Mhm. The
MCU.
main MCU. Yes.
And that's what her goal was, that she was going to open up these other realities and then suck their souls and then use that power to resurrect her children.
but there was no bodies
Mm.
though. How do you mean resurrect?
Well, in the comics, she doesn't need bodies. She can change reality. She
Well, I
can just
guess it
create.
could be like she's creating, like molding them using these other
Yeah.
souls. I guess it could just be something weird. Yeah.
I mean, she's just using soul energy to recreate the bodies and recreate the souls, whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So basically, she does want her children. So the focus is on her children, the version that she had, the memories that she had. And it's not like, oh, I'm just picking up two random kids that look like mine. Like, come on, kids.
Mm.
No, that's
Yeah.
that's good enough.
Because
Your way's
no,
too complicated. Just murder the mum.
how's it good enough, Finbarr?
Just murder the mum and abduct the children.
Well, here's the thing, right? If you're gonna go, well, she could just take any version of these kids, right? There's a reality where she's dead and the children are orphans. Why didn't
Mhm.
Doctor Strange go, hey, 6123? There's no Scarlet Witch, but the children are alive. Go over there, grab them, bring them back. We're all done.
See,
Yes. Yeah.
you're giving the old Thanos. Why didn't you just make more food argument?
Yeah, well, it's a good
But
argument.
it's still
Killing half the.
the thing is, if you're dealing with the multiverse, I feel like someone has to raise that up. There's so many different universes, and the whole point of this movie, by the way, they don't even like they go through the multiverse in like a brief second, and then they're just in one universe. Like, what's
Yeah.
the point of that? It's it's called Multiverse of Madness. Like, there should have been either again like the the idea of like the incursion is happening, and so the multiverse is breaking because Wanda's doing this and she's a Nexus being. So just make up something, right? Like I'm not. It should have been a lot more visually interesting that we're traveling through the multiverse, than just we're gonna just stay in one universe.
Yeah, they should have spent longer in the places they kind of
Yeah.
Yes.
They
flew
should have went
through.
to the place with
Something.
the hot dog fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like everywhere, everything at once is a much better multiverse movie than Doctor Strange, and it's low budget. Like they didn't have Marvel money, so it's just kind of like what were you guys thinking? It's so uncreative. It's like so just sad in my opinion, but
Yeah, I think America Chavez too was. They should have never introduced her. She's too powerful.
Yeah, or I mean, I don't know. I want to see the character. Like, she's the only character that I kind of like on the Young Avengers. Everybody else, I don't really care for, besides Kate Bishop. But
yeah, but I'm thinking as far as like, okay, so her power is she can go into any multiverse, right? Because she can punch a hole in it, and that's why Wanda wants it. But why doesn't Kang want her? Wouldn't every villain now from now until the end of the fucking MCU be like, she's got super abilities to go into other multiverses?
That's why I think she's going to be quite important going forward.
Or the TVA. Why isn't the TVA hunting her down? Yeah.
Oh, could you imagine that? Could you imagine that blinded? Our movie's about an illegal, about a Hispanic girl that illegally travels through dimensions, being hunted down by a government agency. Yeah.
Oh.
You know what? Give one of the TVA agents like a Trump haircut, and you could be all set.
They've already got the electric truncheons as well.
Yeah. You could say they're going to build a wall. We're going to build a wall around our dimension.
Oh man,
a great wall.
A great.
And we're going to make the multiverse pay for it.
Then I'm sure people would have eaten that up. Oh my god. Oh god. No.
No more politics.
No. Oh. Oh god. Okay. I guess we got to move on now. What was the next thing that came out? I guess it was Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
Right. Unfortunately, I didn't see the whole of Miss Marvel. I only watched the one episode, and
it's only 6 episodes.
I know it's just I keep saying that it just feels too Disney Channel-y to me. I feel weird watching it. It's just like this feels like something I would watch as like a really young kid.
Well, that's what it was. It was a teen show, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, I will get around to watching it, but there is something that is in the show that irks me to no end. I do not know why they did this.
I know why they did it, but I know exactly what. Even before we started this conversation, I knew where you were going. But okay.
Yes, this is the only thing I wanted to bring up, and this is the fact that she is a mutant. Why? Okay, I understand that this was the original intention in the comics. It's just that at the time, Marvel Comics was trying to push the Inhumans because of the whole Fox situation, where they own the X-Men. Fine, I understand that it kind of makes sense that she would be a mutant, but here's the thing: she's not a mutant. Okay, all of her lore and her backstory and her character building is on Inhumans, right? And if you weren't going to do Inhumans, then don't connect her with another group, because now I'm like, well, is she going to interact with the X-Men? She kind of has in the comics, right? She has a relationship with Wolverine, right? They kind of have like a friendship going on, but that's like very small and not like such a big deal, right? So it's just like they already told us she's not going to be an Inhuman in the MCU.
Have they said that explicitly?
They said that I mean, going into the show, they said that.
Because here's what I'm hoping, and bear with me here, okay? I know that her pal here, I can't remember his name, the little Peter Parker looking guy. He said to her, "You've got some kind of mutant gene, right?" And she's got these is it the bracelets or something she's wearing?
Yeah.
The powers come from, right? I'm hoping that at some point in the future she does get exposed to Terrigen Mist, and the powers manifest themselves and the way they do in the comics.
I don't even think they can do that, because the way that first off, one, they have the X-Men music play, right? Like I've seen the scene.
I'm
They
not.
have the
What I'm
little.
saying is, I accept that she is a mutant,
Mhm.
but a mutant that gets exposed to Terrigen Mist and becomes an Inhuman as well.
Mm.
Because he
Mm.
wasn't really saying much about what it was that,
How would
that
that?
made her a mutant.
I'm not saying it's a bad idea.
It
I
would be a
mean,
retcon. It would be.
I don't
it
know
would
if
be
it'd be a retcon because
it's
they
not a
just
really.
retcon.
It would really
That
because
that's like a
they've
new
established their
that's
powers.
never been like there's never been, at least to my knowledge, a mutant that's also an inhuman. Like
But they
usually
could
they're
say
separated because of
yeah, there is. There's what's her name?
who?
Quicksilver's daughter is a mutant and an Inhuman.
Okay, I didn't even know that. When was I'm gonna have to look that up because
He has a daughter with Crystal.
okay.
And because they were actually going to expose her to Terrigen Mist, and then that's when
So
Lockjaw
she would
talks.
be
Lockjaw
okay.
talks, and he's like, "Don't do it because she might become like me." And
Mm.
then they retconned it. It was like, "Oh, actually, Lockjaw didn't talk. It was actually someone doing ventriloquist."
What the hell?
Because the original idea was that if you put her in the Terrigen Mist, you don't know what's going to happen,
Yes.
and so she could end up being like a monster, basically.
Mm-hmm. You know
so.
what?
Inhumans are Inhumans before they're exposed to the mist, right? It's the
They're,
mist that
they're,
unlocks,
They
they're
were called
inhuman.
right?
they were called
So,
New Human,
so
right? Where
he could
it's
have. So the little Peter Parker guy could have misdiagnosed her.
possibly. I mean,
We found the Inhuman gene in you rather than a mutant gene, and that's what we thought it was at the time. Forget the
I
X-Men music. We're going to play some Inhuman music instead now.
I don't think there's.
I mean, now
Inhuman
that
music.
Tony said that, I think they could do something like that because I did not know that at all. But again, that's more like, well, because the one parent is a mutant, the other is an inhuman, so it makes sense. But like this would be, she's both, right? And it was already kind of confusing because she only gets the powers from the bracelet, but she still needs the gene in order to activate the powers. That's why no one else can use the bracelets.
Well, now that you bring up the parents, her dad, in reality, the guy who plays her dad is an Inhuman.
Mm.
In reality,
Oh God. That's
so she is half Inhuman, half mutant.
oh man. Oh
Hey,
man.
hey, sue me, mate. See you in court.
Yeah. Well. They could always say like, look, we know that the bracelet is what gives her abilities, right? They could just say that her mutant ability is to tap into technology or something, right? Some stupid convoluted. And so when you take the bracelets away, now she doesn't have any actual powers. And then, like Finbarr says, she gets exposed to the
Terrigen
mist,
yeah.
and then it just manifests itself in a very similar manner. But instead of having the like blue energy around her, she just has stretchy powers, right?
But then it's like, what's
Because they're going to take the bracelets from her because that's like going to be the MacGuffin in the Marvels.
okay, yeah. I guess. I mean, here's the thing. It's I wouldn't mind the idea. It sounds somewhat interesting. You can kind of do something with it. But then it's like, again, maybe you should have just, if you said she wasn't an inhuman, then she wasn't going to be a mutant either. That's what it should have been, right? Not this.
Yeah, but the Inhumans to be one of those like actually people.
Yeah, it's okay.
Inhumans
we're like that too.
Are just mutated humans.
Mm-hmm.
It is a mutation that makes you an Inhuman, right? The Kree came down, messed with the genes of early man, and created.
Yes and no, because it wasn't. Remember, it wasn't originally like that. It was like this a specific nation, right? But then they kind of went back and like retconned it, where it was like, oh, there's some people on Earth that have that gene.
No, they didn't retcon it.
It did.
What they said was
did seem like a retcon.
What happened was they said that the Kree came down and messed with a small group of people and turned them into humans, right? And then they had fled from Earth onto the moon. But then they just went back and said, well, some people didn't leave. They stayed on Earth and their genes mixed in with other people.
I would say that's a retcon. I would only say it's a retcon because everybody knew that the Inhumans their whole society was on the moon and they weren't supposed to be interacting with the rest of humanity, right? Well,
yeah, but then they changed it because
I know.
What I was gonna say was because Thanos and them all have, because they're the Eternals and the Deviants are like almost an offshoot of the same program that created the Inhumans.
Mm. I mean, I don't know. It's just Marvel-y bullshit.
I
Okay.
hope they tie it all back up though. I hope they fix it. I really want to see a scene right where Kamala Khan and Reed Richards meet each other, and then they do. Have you ever seen those marshmallow twisties?
Marshmallow
Yeah.
twisties.
You know what I'm talking about? Where it's
Yeah.
two different colors and they've twisted it. I want to
Oh,
see the
yeah.
two characters meet, shake hands, and then twist around each other and become one of those marshmallow twisties.
Oh my god.
Just to demonstrate how close their power sets are to each other. She would be in
That'd be
red, he'd
kinda
be in
funny.
blue, twisty. Yeah, it would look cool.
Oh man.
You would get a laugh in the cinema.
We this is why Finbarr needs to write something.
They'll steal
It's
this
just
idea.
so weird.
They'll steal this. If it wasn't just two people sitting in the chat, and I think the two of them is me and you at the moment, they'll steal this idea.
They would. I mean, it sounds. I want to see that.
Of course you do. Everybody wants to see it.
Just weird.
I'm surprised you hadn't thought about it before.
No, I didn't. No. But to end this off, I guess I don't know. I just think pick either she's an Inhuman, a mutant, or she's not. I think that's where they kind of they wanted the show to have like an impact, and that was their way. It was like, okay, no one is really going to care, so how can we like make it interesting? And also too, I feel like this also means that Marvel is like going to double down and not do the Inhumans. That's my big.
Well, they did the
theory.
Inhumans and it sucked.
Well,
No,
and
Marvel
you know,
Studios
Marvel
didn't.
Studios, right?
I think they'll have another pass at it, but they'll have to have some time between.
Who Marvel Studios wasn't the
No,
No,
that
it was
Marvel
Marvel.
TV.
It was ABC that did it.
It was Jeff Loeb and all of them. Yeah.
But wasn't it
Yeah.
originally going to be Marvel Studios because it was going to
Yes.
be a movie, right?
It was, yeah,
and then Ike Perlmutter came in and was like, "We need
Give me
to fast
that,
track." Yeah, and then he just gave it to Jeff Loeb.
and then Jeff Loeb put Scott Buck in charge of it, and he fucked
what a
up
disaster.
Iron Fist. So, Mister, I don't see any reason why they need to wear a costume. Get the fuck out of here, man.
Yeah, stupid. I really think they're not going to show up. I think
They will
Swan
eventually
Song
when they
was
exhaust
Doctor
everything.
Strange.
They'll go back to them. No, they'll go back to them. I'm sure they will.
Hopefully, then. But what was the next one we had? Oh man, Thor. Oh, I think this is like my least favorite Marvel movie. Period. I absolutely hate this movie. Like I was watching this in the theater, and I was like, for the first time, I was like, I wanted to leave. I was like, I can't watch this. I really can't. And my knees were hurting for some reason. Just none of the jokes to me
No, it
were
was all
even
the
funny.
excitement. That's what it was.
Oh man, and I was watching in a packed theater, and some people were laughing, some people were just like, "What the fuck is going on?" It was. What do you guys think about this movie? I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm getting a bit sick of Clown Thor now.
Yes, I call him Himbo Thor.
I'm not going to say it was the worst movie of the phase because we're going to come to that one.
Oof.
But it wasn't good. No, they tried to do Ragnarok redo, and they shouldn't have.
Yes. Well, there's so much wrong with this movie, though. But what do you think, Tony? Because I know you.
I like the movie.
Yes.
I like the humor. I thought it was funny. I understand the complaints, right? I do. I understand what people have problems with. And the movie's not perfect. The villain was very weak. It was wasted.
Yes, wasted.
The
was well
relationship
acted,
stuff was way too much. We didn't need all that.
Well, they kind of that's the thing. They kind of needed it because the relationship was so bad. I mean, for what they were trying to do, right? Like, it's a movie about her dying, so it's like you kind of needed to show their relationship, so then people are like, "Oh man, I'm sad, I'm crying," right? Because if you didn't,
But I wasn't sad and crying.
I know, it sucks
because it was done really crappy because it was almost like, hey, forget all those other movies that we did in the Thor franchise and the relationship with Jane Foster. This is the real relationship. Look how cute they were watching TV and eating ice cream, and like that never happened. Like, no, you can't just shove that in 10 minutes of a movie and make me feel emotional about it.
I also think they should have gotten back together and you just keep Lady Thor.
They should
Like,
have
what
never
was the
broke up.
problem? Or yeah, not have them break up. But like either or, right? Like, why kill off the character so soon? Right? It wasn't like it just feels
She'll
like
be back. She'll be back.
but that's what I mean. Why
As a
not?
Valkyrie.
I don't even like her as Valkyrie. That was like a dumb idea when they did that. It was like, why bother? Like, just let her stay dead for whatever reason. It was just like, all this movie is just like, okay, let's take this idea. This is again the same problem with Moon Knight. Let's take something that people like. We'll take this other thing that people like, jam it together, and then we'll do it in one movie. It's like those two ideas could have been a movie within itself, right? You could have had two movies, but no. Instead, we're gonna do Gore the yeah. Oh, I'm talking all over. Gore the God Butcherer, and then we're gonna have Jane Foster be Thor. Those were two separate arcs, and on top of that, too, Gore was a character that lasted for quite some time, right? Until he eventually was like, okay, he's gonna get rehabilitated, and then he went off, right? So, and his character ties into another character, another big popular character, Null, right? So it's like,
but they can't tie.
They can't even do that now,
because
they've done that.
Sony.
They've done that before as well, where they've kind of glossed over a big thing like Sutter when they had him in Ragnarok, and they just kind of had him in at the start and then they had him in at the end and had Hela in the middle of it. And I think he should have had his own film, but they've kind of shoehorned a lot of stuff together.
Well, they should have had Ymir if you're gonna have.
But I mean, they even shoehorned Planet Hulk into that film as well.
Yeah,
the whole Planet Hulk.
Yeah, that I understand why
they did
its
it. Own. Yeah, I understand why they had to, but I mean, if rights wasn't an issue, that should have been its own film.
Yeah, like in this case.
Yeah.
So did they ever explain what happened? Okay, so Hela was still alive at the end of Ragnarok, right? And Surtur was still alive, and they were going to face off against each other. Then we had the whole Thanos thing. Did he kill them?
Who knows?
Are they still out there just fighting in this like perpetual battle?
No, well, they were fighting on Asgard, right?
Yeah,
Asgard the entirety of Asgard exploded into space, so I'm assuming Hela's dead.
But why would she be dead? Like, if Thor didn't die because Asgard exploded, she's the god.
He was on a ship.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is he's not connected. Like, originally they were connected to Asgard. The power of Asgard is what powers Thor's ability.
Are we not assuming Sutter killed her during that fight?
I mean, that could be possible too, but I mean,
but then
there's always a way to bring her back.
He would come back, right? Wouldn't he be around?
Yeah. He'd make it through it, but she wouldn't, surely.
Yeah, but then basically he doesn't just stop. It's not like he just wants to destroy Asgard, right? He wants to destroy all the 9 realms.
All of it, yes.
So you're just basically like, oh, that guy just got away with destroying Asgard. He's probably now destroying the other 6 realms.
And Thor gives no fucks.
Yeah, no one cares.
Yes, that's actually a very good point. That's what I mean. Like Taika Waititi, he doesn't care, right? He just wants to make a funny movie. I understand that. But if you're going to do that, why not pick a character that doesn't have high stakes? Thor has high stakes.
Taika Waititi would have been good doing Wonder Man or
yes,
maybe even She-Hulk. To be quite honest.
Yeah.
Any other character that was more jokey, not low stakes.
I don't want jokey Thor anymore. I want serious ass kicking Thor.
Yes.
Well, they really screwed up with the whole angle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole point of when she becomes Lady Thor or whatever you want to call her is he's not worthy, right? They didn't do the whole not worthy thing. They just like, oh, your hammer's destroyed, so you're not Thor no more. Oh,
unworthy Thor. Yeah.
You got a new hammer. Okay, you're Thor again. Like, it's like how was he even Thor? Because the power of Thor was from the hammer and from Odin.
Mm-hmm.
So is he not really Thor with his new hammer? Because it's not
tied
to Odin.
I guess in the MCU he doesn't need it, right? Because in the last movie they kind of were establishing that, like, oh, you don't. The power of Thor is within you.
Yeah, but I thought that was because Odin was dead, so technically he's now the in Ragnarok, after Odin dies, he becomes the king of Asgard, and all the Asgard power, the Odin power itself, is
Mm.
now in Thor.
Well, Odin says it
Mm.
himself though when he's putting he's putting the mark on Mjolnir. He says, "Whoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, will possess the power of Thor." So Thor's already got the power without the hammer. Anybody holding the hammer has the power of Thor.
Weird.
Explaining why she has the power of Thor while holding the hammer and he doesn't. He doesn't. Like, he still has the power while not holding
it. They knew that they couldn't get rid of Thor, right, Odin's son. So they were just like, why not have both of them around? Even though obviously that was not in the comics, right? So, like I said, the movie's just a mess. It's just a mess of all these different storylines.
And Guardians was wasted. Why were they even in the movie?
Yeah, it didn't even.
Hey, he went off with the Guardians. Okay, now they're done.
Yeah, because they had to be. Well, they had to be in the movie so that you could explain how and why he ditched them.
Yeah, but they shouldn't even had him go off on it. If you weren't gonna have them be part, like have him be part of the Guardians and like do a whole movie with them, they should have just been like, no. He's like, hey, can I hitch a ride with you guys? And that would have been the end of it. Oh yeah, they just dropped him off.
Yeah,
on some planet, right?
Yeah.
Do you think they were planning on doing another Thor at the end of Phase 3? Because that feels to me like it was a way of getting Thor out of the way.
Well, the thing is, like, I think this was the original plan, right? Because even if Guardians came before Thor, right, he wasn't going to be in the movie because James Gunn said that. He's like, oh, he was not going to appear at all. Yeah. So like, I don't understand why they did that. Like, why not just, like, in my opinion, he should have just been the king of Asgard. Like, what was so hard of, like, that should have been the new thing for Thor, is like, he's the king of Asgard and he's gonna, like, I don't know, restore Asgard or something, right? And then all these villains come in and he has to, like, take them on, right? Like, it should have been a more mature take for the character and not the same, I don't know what to do with my life. And you know what to do with your life. Why do you keep going in circles? It's really annoying.
Yeah, you know why he's not king of Asgard. Blinded.
I know why. I know why, but it's like, and the thing is too, you know what was dumb about this movie? Valkyrie ends up being like, I don't want to be king anymore. What the hell? What was the point of doing that?
No one wants to be king.
It was just like it's such a waste. It's such a waste. And it's like, what was that even done for? Was it a joke? Well, like, man, this movie's just sitting and watching it. Like, even that scene where that kid's head pops up.
That was so stupid.
So dumb.
They fixed that. They had to fix that. It was so bad, didn't they? They fixed it for Disney Plus.
Oh my god.
Well, they should have, to be fair, what they should have done was basically have him be the king. He's King Thor. Gore the God Butcher shows up. He's going around killing people. He can't leave. Like, they're like, hey, you can't leave. So then he reforges the hammer. He's going to leave. Valkyrie's like, no, you can't leave. You're the king. If you go, he could come and attack Asgard, New Asgard. So she's like, I'll go. But then, Jane Foster hears the call of Mjolnir, picks it up, ends up being Thor. And her and fucking Valkyrie have the adventure. And Thor is just at home fucking being the king. If that's what they wanted. Because they wanted Lady Thor for some reason, right? If that's what you wanted, then build it that way. Where you give him a reason why he can't go off and have adventures. Also, Gore the God Butcher should have been killing gods. You could even maybe had him kill Hela and Sutor and be like, oh, look how badass he is. He fucking
that's a good point, yeah.
Those two. And then slowly but surely, they should have showed people started worshiping him. Like, he didn't know, he didn't realize, like, people are worshiping him as the new god of death. And that would have been the revelation at the end. Like, wait a minute. Even by killing the gods, I've now become a god to people. I've become the very thing that I've set out to destroy.
Yeah, that would have been, I think that would have been an interesting take. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, this is a scenario where, again, I would just scrap this whole movie and do just totally something else. I mean, and then they also set up the whole stuff with Hercules and Zeus. I understand why they were in this movie. Again, you're dealing with God, Gore. But they don't have anything to do with Gore, even though they're gods. Like he should have. Why didn't he come in and like, oh, I'm gonna kill all these gods and like gain this power or whatever bullshit they come up with, right? It's like I just never.
What was stupid was they had
Oh
all
my
the
God.
gods, and they're like, "We're scared. We're gonna sit here and hide out in our godly palace." And
Palace, yeah.
what they should have did was, if they wanted to introduce Hercules, they should be like, "Don't worry, oh, Gore's out there. Watch this. I got Hercules, and he's gonna assemble a god squad. They're gonna go out there and fucking."
And you know, now that I'm thinking about Valkyrie, right? To be honest, I actually kind of like Valkyrie, and I'm like, why haven't they had Valkyrie team up with Misty Knight? That should be a spinoff.
There is no MCU Misty Knight.
I know, but like they can, you know, get a new one and just like do a spinoff movie where they meet. Like I'm just thinking there's so now I'm like Thor's a character that could almost have a bunch of spin-off movies if they really wanted to. I mean, we have Loki, right? I just they could have even done the different generations of Thor, right? Fighting Gore, like how it was in the comics. Like I just think I know like it would have just like making it like the comics doesn't mean it's going to be better. But I feel like with Thor is a character that a lot of people don't realize has a lot of decent runs. Like this is not a character who's like, oh, you know, it's like whatever. Like I kind of think Ant-Man is a character who's like whatever, really, right? There's not too much you can do with him. But Thor,
they need the Thor core.
Or you know who's another character that should have been in this movie? Where is this character? Beta Ray Bill.
Yeah, Beta Ray Bill.
Why is this character again?
Because you've seen his face on the monument, so he does exist.
There's way too much backstory with that. You got to go through his whole race of people, how he beats Thor, gets the hammer, becomes Thor.
This is what I'm saying. Spinoff. This movie should have just focused on Thor being King Thor, potentially set up those little plot threads, right?
Yeah, but Thor has Stormbreaker. They gave him the.
You can come up with some reason. I mean, Mjolnir's back. Just give him Mjolnir, and then like Stormbreaker. I don't need it. Shove it to the side. I don't know. This is the one movie I'm like. There's so many ways that you could have changed this for the better. Where I'm like, I would have taken anything else but this movie. Right. The next movie, I hope Taika Waititi does not come back.
I don't think he's coming. You know, he's coming back.
I don't think there's going to be a next Thor movie. Didn't Chris Hemsworth basically say he's done?
I mean, he kind of said he was.
He said he's taking a break.
He said he was taking a break, but he also said that he wants a new take on the character, which I think is him admitting that this movie was not good.
I think that's his way of saying I'm not going to come back, and my excuse will be like, "Oh no, it's not really a new take."
No, I think they'll give him a new take if he wants it.
I think so
I just
too.
don't think Taika Waititi's coming back. No,
the way he was acting in some of these like interviews, he was like, I don't really care. Like
I think he'll come back. I think he'll come back and he'll still voice Korg, but I don't think he'll direct. Kind of like how Favreau did for.
I don't like that character
I know.
either.
It was stupid compared to what it was like in the comics and Meek as well. Meek was evil in the end.
Yes.
And it didn't even speak. It was just it was Korg's pup.
Yeah, really. This I could rant about this movie all day long. I can't even. I'm just so pissed off with this movie.
Oh, but we got Black Panther to come yet. Don't use all your pissed offness yet.
Yeah, these are the okay. The next we'll move on because we're almost close to the end.
We got another infuriating TV show to come yet.
Yeah, we got next after Thor is She-Hulk, which admittedly a lot of people hate this show.
It's the greatest show ever.
It's the greatest show
I think
ever.
I think we all were giving it solid 7s up until the last episode, were we not?
Yes.
Yeah. Sure, we were enjoying it.
Yeah, we were enjoying it. I didn't think it was this woke nonsense that people were claiming. It is kind of, obviously a little bit here and there, but it's not egregious in my opinion. It's not like terrible.
That stuff doesn't bother me as long as it's entertaining.
It never bothers me. I'm not like a whole big thing about what's woke. I think it's all just I'm sick of hearing that word. I'm just I understand, but I also do not understand. So yeah, this is a show that I feel like my only gripe is it wasn't that funny. That's really it. It wasn't that funny. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, I don't think it was. I don't remember it being particularly funny all the way through. But again, I thought it was decent, and I don't think the CGI was too bad. I think Hulk's CGI was great. I think it was as good as it was in the movies. I know that She-Hulk's was a bit janky looking, but I think that's because she was too clean looking as in comparison to Ruffalo Hulk.
Yeah.
But I do think the CGI, the first couple of episodes when he was in them, looked spot on.
I mean, yeah, I mean the CGI didn't really bother me too much. I mean, it's just giant green lady. I don't really care all that much.
It looked at its worst when she was sitting in her office in her suit.
Yeah, the suit, in my opinion, this is like a weird fix I would change. Her outfits were really bad. I don't know why. It almost was like, it's so weird. It was like, this might be a weird comment, but it looked almost like a dude designed her, not a woman. like why would she be wearing this suit? Like there's got to be a 10 times better suits out there that look way better looking than that. It was almost like she kind of had this weird build too. Where it's like,
is the idea?
But then they explained that though in the series.
Is the idea not that the suit it was a guy's suit because it was the biggest she could get?
Yeah, they basically kind of
when she goes, they have the designer. Yeah, I was expecting her. I know later. I was expecting her to get like a freshen up, like, but no, it just every time it felt like she was just lame looking. Like, and I remember looking at the concept art. No, I wanted her to look 10 times better. It was like there was all these concept arts that it just looked way better designed, like her hair, like I don't know. That's like a minor thing. But I actually kind of liked her performance at least. Like I didn't mind the actress playing She-Hulk.
She's all right.
Yeah, she's decent.
I think where they screwed up was we didn't get an episode of Jennifer Walters pre-She-Hulk. We had no idea what is her personality before she becomes She-Hulk. We have no idea, right? Why do we care about the character of Jennifer Walters? We don't know who she is. We don't know what her struggles are, or what she was going through before she became the She-Hulk. You know, we just get thrown into it. Oh, she becomes She-Hulk, and now she's dealing with that. But what did she deal with before? And she kind of tells us, but show, don't tell, right? Like, what is the difference between Jennifer Walters and She-Hulk? How did she change personality-wise? If they would have had an episode where she was, struggling, and you had people like, putting her down or mocking her because she was, kind of mousy and quiet and wasn't, assertive enough in court, and maybe she lost a case that she should have won, but because of her personality, she didn't convince the jury. Right? Then you're like, oh, look how different she is now that she's She-Hulk. That's why she likes being She-Hulk, because it gives her that confidence to be.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about this last night, weren't we? And I think maybe with the episode shuffling, the later on episode where her origin was shown, maybe the origin would have been right at the end of the episode. Yeah. So you would have got a whole episode of her being regular lawyer.
Yeah, but then at that point, I would say they should have introduced her as a superhero criminal lawyer. Yes, right away.
That's what I mean. So what I mean is like, because she was going to be introduced. Episode 1 was going to be her already as She-Hulk, and you would have seen it. Was the origin episode not going to be like second to last episode?
Yeah.
So that would have been the last beat of that episode before the finale. Is her transforming. So the whole episode was it 9 episodes in total? Yeah. So the whole of episode 8 would have been just Jennifer Walters as a lawyer all the way up until the last 2 minutes when she gets the blood transfusion. But that's what I think they would have done. Because why would you have the origin early on in episode 8? Why wouldn't you have all the family stuff, all the backstory with what's his name? The other Hulk.
Chad?
Man Hulk.
Normal.
with his with his gammy arm.
Yeah.
Because she fixes his arm, doesn't she? So they could have had that whole backstory, the family all together up until the last 2 minutes. Then you see the car wreck. That's why I would have, because we were talking about this last night as well, I would have had the but everybody knows episode 8 is going to be the origin episode, so I would have had that episode 8 kick off with that, that thing that they did at the start of episode 9 where they did the Bill Bixby tribute. Have that, open it, and you would be like, what? People would go, what is this? Is this how she became She-Hulk? And then the whole episode would go on until the end.
And that would have worked better.
That was the funniest. That was the laugh out loud moment of that whole series, was that part. And during us reviewing it, episode 9, all them months back, I'd forgotten all about it because I was so horrified with how it ended.
Yeah.
It had been erased from my mind, but that was the best part of it, and I laughed at that. I laughed at the you wouldn't like me when I'm angry part, and Mark Ruffalo just looking at the camera.
I mean, there was so many. Remember, there was this rumor that said the Thing was going to be in the show.
Yeah,
looking back at it, no, that would actually have been funnier.
That would have been awesome.
That would have. It sounds dumb, right? But looking back at the show, there was really no episodes where it was like a kind of ironic situation, right? Like she was barely defending people. Like all of her cases were kind of lame.
Well, she only had like 2 cases because she defended the Abomination, which was stupid, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I know that the idea was, look, she's defending a supervillain, but then you humanized him and were like, he was actually not a supervillain, right? He's just a normal guy. So she should have actually defended Titania, right?
Yeah,
that like, well, Titania has a bunch of money, paid the law firm for defense, and now she has to defend the chick that tried to beat her up.
Yes. Right? Again, that's what I mean. Like the writers in this room, it's almost like they have no idea of like irony. This show should have been full of irony, and the fourth wall breaking could have commented on that idea, right? Like, oh, I'm defending this terrible person. Oh my god!
And I know that she's guilty, and I have to defend her anyway. Also,
yes.
The Daredevil stuff was decent, but I think they should have been more debate over whether or not being a vigilante kind of conflicts with what they do as a lawyer, right? Because taking the law into your own hands and going in there and beating people up and having them arrested, and then at the same time, I'm now at trial where I have to follow these rules in order to get people prosecuted. They kind of go against each other.
I think we'll get that though. We'll get that in his own show when he takes that more serious. But this Daredevil was as close to the original Daredevil in the comics as they've ever been.
Well, they kind of hint at it, right? They kind of do touch on it, just like in passing.
Briefly, yes.
Yeah. But if they were going to do that, they should have really where she was like, "Hey, I can't be a superhero because this conflicts," and he's like, "Well, no, sometimes you got to do it, even if the law side of you says this is wrong." Right?
Wrong, yeah. Yeah, I think the show should have really I think I would have made it a little longer, maybe like just 12 episodes, and then. Because I mean, Tony had when this first came out, Tony did have a good idea where it was like the ending, right? You could still have that whole meta change, right? But the next episode is
episode.
That would have made more sense. That would have actually been funny. Like, oh, we're gonna redo the episode, and she's gonna like fix it, and you're gonna see it how she fixed it. Like that would have been clever, right? But no, they didn't do that. They just like sloppily just like clean their hands.
They did a Moon Knight.
Yeah, it was like.
You know what would have been really funny? If when she went in the writer's room, she looked around, she goes, "What do you mean this is all women? No wonder why this show sucks."
Oh, man.
Right?
Oh, man.
And then looked at the camera. "Don't worry, guys. I got you." And he's like, "I'm going to fix this."
Do you know how many people would just...
all their heads would have exploded. All the people hating on She-Hulk would have been like, "Oh my God, they did this to fuck with us."
Yeah, they would have lost their mind. I mean, they were losing their mind when they saw the Doomcock mask in the show. So I mean, the thing is, I don't even mind if the show points out that culture on YouTube. I really don't.
Yeah, but don't make it the main villain.
Yeah,
it
should have been clever too. It should have not been so in your face. It should have been like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like you get it. Like for the people who actually know, right? Like,
we were all genuinely sitting there going, "Oh, the leader's showing up."
Yes.
That's what I
And
wanted. I was like,
and
this is
it
all
was-
just set up. The leader's coming.
It was so far away from that. It was so 180 degrees from that it was an insult.
Oh, I still think that the Thing episode, just the idea that she has to defend, or like kind of what's it called? Because it was this accusation that everybody thought that Thing was actually Korg, and so she had to like something like that actually seems funny because you're playing, and then on top of that too, you're introducing a character, right? But you're playing with the world and stuff with the characters, like stuff like that's what it should have been, right? Like everybody thought that one guy was Ghost Rider. Remember, everybody was like, "Oh my God, we're gonna get Ghost Rider and She-Hulk." Right?
Yeah, the magician.
Yes,
because he had the name.
because he had a very similar name. Yeah, Johnny Blaze or whatever his name was, right?
Yeah.
Which why even do that? Everybody's gonna point that out, right? Like it just seems, again, the writers. And this is something that I keep saying. If the writers actually knew about Marvel Comics or even the MCU, you could have played with so many ideas, right? Just like we could have gotten a lot more cameos, right? Of like minor characters, right? Not just Wong and Abomination and Hulk. We could have gotten, like, Valkyrie could have been in the show. Why not have Valkyrie? Why not have characters that we don't get to see that often, right?
Yeah.
And they're in a comedic setting. It just, again, the writers, like, they need to hire writers who actually know the MCU.
Well, they should have had what's his name show up. Michael Douglas, the guy who plays Hank.
Yes.
Pym. Think about this. This should have been an episode. Michael Douglas comes in. They're like, "Hey, we got a new client," and he shows up and he throws a bunch of Ant-Man comics on the thing. He's like, "I want to sue them for slander. I've never hit my wife."
Yeah, that's, again, that would require you knowing Ant-Man, though. These writers don't know anything about Ant-Man, so they can't do that.
This would have been even better.
Boom. He's like, "I never hit my wife," and he even did the meme. "I never hit her."
Yes.
Right. And then how did she defend it? She's like, "Well, there's freedom of speech, and then how do we get around it?" Well, it's only a comic book. He's like, "No, but that's me. I'm a real person."
That's me. Oh man.
You can't just write that I slapped my wife around in a comic book and sell it to kids, right? Like,
yeah.
No, Hank Pym comes in and says,
so much better.
I need you to defend me. Some chick has said I've been exposing myself indecently. And then he kind of turns to the camera and just goes,
she calls me Giant Man.
I promise I didn't do it.
Oh, jeez.
Is Michael Douglas in trouble for that? Is that what you're telling me?
He was. There was an accusation of it.
Oh, man. Oh. But now I have to look that up.
It would be a meta joke, though, wouldn't it? I need you to defend me. Some women from the 90s said I was exposing myself.
From the 90s?
I think that's around about when it happened.
Oh.
I mean, something like that. Man. Even if you could have got RDJ's dead, but you could have had Pepper come in and be like, "Why are these people making comic books saying that Tony Stark was a drunk and alcoholic? This is slander to a dead guy."
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Seems a little bit morbid.
Hey, we do morbid around here, but I mean, they should. What I'm saying is, they should have had cases that were more meta. Every episode should have been a case. It shouldn't have been like one case stretched over 4 episodes.
Case of the week mixed with like a monster of the week situation. Yeah,
it should have been. It should have been quick, like Harvey Birdman, like really.
Yes,
quick cuts.
Something
for a half an hour show. Yeah, it should have been really quick.
Yeah,
you got to explain the case, explain how she comes up to it, show the scene in the court. It should have been boom, boom, rapid fire.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess for the next one, we're gonna be. I mean, we kind of touched upon Werewolf by Night. We would just have Moon Knight be in the show, right, or be in the movie, I should say. So we're gonna skip that. And we're also probably gonna skip Guardians special, just because, again, don't really have any problems with it. So to end off the show, we're going to be talking about Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, which I don't think any of us like. What do you guys got to explain? What's your thoughts on this movie?
Well, we know what the main problem was. The movie was called
recast?
Black Panther,
It's called Black Panther,
and he wasn't in it, right? And I know Shuri was the Black Panther in the
well,
comics.
there's no Black Panther for a good period of the movie.
Yeah. Like
For what? Like almost.
I think I've
Yeah.
I think I've said what I would have done. I think I said it before. I would have cast Aldous Hodge, the guy who played Hawkman.
Yeah.
I would have not mentioned that his face is different in much the same ways they didn't mention Terrence Howard to Don Cheadle, the way they didn't mention Ed Norton to Mark Ruffalo, and the way they're not going to mention William Hurt to Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
I would have done exactly that. No actor is bigger than the character. I don't care who it is.
He said that he wanted the character to go on.
He did say that.
Important.
Yeah, but again, this is just. I know it's sad that the guy passed away. Right, he was a good actor, and he seemed like a good guy, and he played the character well. But
yes,
this is us getting too soppy over something that like the world is a cruel place. People pass away. That's life. But
I can understand that they wanted to honor him,
but there was enough time between him passing and the movie coming out, and I think you said it, Blinded. They should have just cancelled it. They pushed it to the next phase.
Yeah, like they should have really just canceled it and wait and come up with something that made sense, because this didn't make sense. Like, I can understand if this movie was an entire tribute, right, where it wasn't even really a superhero movie, right? But then who's gonna watch that, right?
Yeah.
But it's not. That's the thing that I don't like about the movie, is that instead of it just being a tribute, it's, oh, we still have to deal with Namor, and Ironheart shows up, and we're setting up all these plot threads. It's almost like, well, this seems really weird. Like, one of my
two things jammed together.
And they're totally different, right? You have the funeral scene. After the funeral scene, it just jumps into the movie.
It felt like they were trying to cram so much other extra things in to compensate for Black Panther not being there.
Yeah.
Which is weird. I don't understand. It's like, you want to be respectful, but to me that doesn't seem really respectful.
Kind of disrespectful.
They were respectful, no, but I'm sorry, right? They were, because they gave Chadwick Boseman his own an intro. I don't know what movie it was they did it on.
Black Panther.
The original Black Panther.
No, on this one.
No,
this one. No, I'm sure they did it before this.
They did it. Well. They did. I think it was like on TV. They had the tribute of him for the Marvel Studios logo in the original movie.
Yeah, but it wasn't until this movie that it showed up in the cinema.
But it wasn't like that any footage had been shot. Coogler was writing it, so they could have just binned it. I don't know why they didn't just throw it in the bin and go, right, we're going to skip over it for now, make all these other things.
Yeah.
And we'll come back around to Black Panther when we've got.
And I wouldn't be surprised if, like, give it like 2-3 years, they come out and say like it was a mistake. I know that they're eventually going to say that.
No, I don't think they will. I think that
they'll never admit to it.
They'll never admit it. It'll be like leaked out.
Mistake.
Yeah, someone will be like, "Hey, according to sources, they admit it was a mistake," but it'll never be said out loud.
I just have a feeling they will say it deep in an article, in an interview. You'll see maybe.
Oh, they'll get destroyed online if they ever said it. I don't think they're ever, even deep in an article. I think they know, they're smart enough to know that they're never going to admit this was a mistake.
If anybody's ever going to allude to it being a mistake, they're going to make it like.
It'll be Ryan Coogler who says it.
Nah, it'll be more of a, maybe we could have done this or we could have done that. Yeah. But I felt we made the right decision. There'll never be an outright admission that
that to me is them just saying that's a mistake. That's like code for it's a mistake.
Yeah, but like Finbar's saying, they'll temper it so it sounds better than
it won't be an outright, we fucked up so bad. We should have.
And they did. They fucked up
way.
So bad.
Fuck that Chadwick Boseman. We should have just went ahead with it.
Oh, man.
No, realistic. Look, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. There was not much Black Panther in the MCU for them to be like, we're going to dedicate this whole thing, right? It's like, yes, I understand it's sad. Chad died. People want to mourn him, but like you guys said, what they should have did a funeral scene, right? And then time jumped, and they should have been like, oh, look, Black Panther's dead. And that was during the snap. And then time jumped ahead, and like now they're dealing with how do we introduce you back to the people? Like the mom was like, we love you. We're happy you're back. Aldous
Mhm.
Hodge as Black
Yeah,
Panther, but
have a new face.
yeah, but no,
Mhm.
but like, how do we tell the people, right? We all mourned you. We can't just say, "Oh, guys, he's back," right? So like, deal with that. Like, well, you could still be the Black Panther, but you can't be T'Challa no more
To be
because
honest, I wouldn't even do any of that. Just I would have just had it. They have it before the snap. This is the only movie that takes place within the snap, right? And just do the tribute and all that stuff, but don't acknowledge if he's going to come back or not.
That is a
Figure
good
that out
that is a good idea
after.
because they've obviously had this funeral before
Yeah,
for the snap, right? So yeah, do the funeral, have your tribute to Chadwick Boseman happening during the snap, like you said, and
because
then just
then if you think about it, I feel like it's almost like you have your cake and eat it too. It's still
well, maybe he
obviously with
never came back.
changes.
Maybe they should have played that angle.
Mm,
Have the funeral. Say the funeral is happening during the snap,
mhm,
right? And then show people coming back, and then they're like, "Why didn't Black Panther come back?"
something that builds up to him coming back. Because I know for a fact that by the time we get to Secret Wars, they're
Oh, the
going
kid's
to
gonna grow
bring him
up,
back.
and Aldous Hodge is gonna play the adult
Yes,
T'Challa too.
that's what I mean. They're gonna age him up quick, and then the third movie you're gonna have him, the son,
I,
and then he's probably gonna be with Storm, and then that's how they're gonna be like, you see, we did it,
I don't know if they're gonna age him up. I think they're gonna pull a T'Challa 2 from a different universe and be like, "Look, this is a alternate reality version of the kid as an adult."
why not just bring an alternate reality version of the real T'Challa?
Because then people
Because
will be
then
like, "Oh my god, that was
they
so
admit it.
disrespectful
Yeah.
to Chadwick and all that."
Really?
The same
Well,
reason why they didn't recast him, right? Because
yeah.
it was disrespectful. So
There's so many people, Finbar.
Yeah, but William Hurt can go fuck
I
himself.
yeah, but we can go fuck
oh
himself.
man,
Exactly.
I've seen people say about this movie that even if Chadwick didn't die, they would be okay with how the movie played out. I don't believe that.
No,
that's
bullshit.
no
They
way.
wouldn't do this movie if Chadwick Boseman hadn't passed away. No chance.
Well, the Namor stuff was kind of dumb too. Look,
I don't even
It
believe them
was.
when
We
they
didn't even
say.
get into that.
I
just
don't
yet.
even believe them when they say the child was part of it. The child with the same name was part of it.
Yeah, I
Nah, they wrote
agree.
that later.
I feel like
That's a lie.
that is some BS that they.
well,
told.
if you like I said yesterday, if you watch the movie, the little boy is in the scene, right, where the mom comes. I think they went back and said, "Hey, we could take
Let's
that
make
little
him the
boy,
kid. Yeah.
yeah, let's make him the kid and just add that on to the end." Right? Because it doesn't make any sense in the context of the movie that he's there. They don't acknowledge that he's T'Challa's son, or that anything's going on, or even hint that he has a son until the very end of the movie.
Yes.
So I think that was just fucking shoehorned in at the end.
It does seem like it. Everything about this movie just feels shoehorned in. We got to put this in, but we also have to like somehow spin off and make Wakanda a bigger franchise. And it feels like I said, it just leaves a really bad taste where you're like, oh, we can't recast this actor, but oh, we can make all these TV shows and other movies with all these other characters
Are they still
that
going
will
ahead
live
with
on. Yeah, it seems like they are.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
The Midnight Angels show.
She's not interesting as a character. I don't.
Not to take the lead in her own show. I don't think.
No.
I wouldn't be surprised if they gave what's his name, M'Baku a show. I mean,
He's good. I like him.
Yeah, there's.
But what are you gonna do with it? They already fucked up that character.
I have no clue. They'll figure it out. You know, it's eventually gonna happen at some point.
I don't understand where they're like, we can't have this guy. Okay, I understand why they're like, we can't have this guy dressed up like a monkey and fighting Black Panther. I get that, right? I get that. But then you still have him like making monkey sounds and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yes.
They
like,
should
wait
have
a
just
minute.
they should have just went outright man ape because
Yeah.
if anybody's going to get pissed off about it, they've had a long time to get pissed off about it because he's been dressed like that in the comics for years.
And
So-
I mean, they could have did it. They could
no
have did
one
it more
was really-
respectful.
Yeah, they could have done it a little bit more respectfully and not. I actually don't really have so much of a problem with that. I think we know why they didn't lean into it, right? Because they were like, oh, it probably would have. There obviously would have been controversy.
Yeah, but he watch
But he makes
Wakanda. He walks
yeah, he
in
makes
eating
Yes,
a
I know.
carrot. He's eating a carrot. He's making ape noises, and I'm like,
and he does the chest thing too.
yeah. I was like, just put the fucking thing on. Put the headdress on of the white gorilla.
I would have had the gear on
Yeah.
and not made all the noises and pounding the chest. That would have
Yeah.
been more acceptable to me.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I'm worshipping the ape. So
Yeah. They whatever. Yeah. Yeah. It's. I think looking back on it, they
And they made him
tiptoeing
a good
obviously
guy.
they were tiptoeing around too many sensitivities, and I just think they
It-
went the wrong direction.
Why
with it.
even have him in the movie if he's
Why-
going to be a
yes.
good guy, and then like not be the man-ape, right?
Well, I was hoping they were going to make him Black Panther.
I honestly remember that rumor where it was like, oh, it's gonna be
Yeah.
Shuri and him as Black Panther.
Yeah, well, because they probably
would've
seen.
made more sense.
There's a scene in the movie where she walks over, and there's two Black Panther masks, and then she walks past them and gets her mask. I think people might have seen that through a leak and were like, "Oh, there's 3 masks, so there must be multiple Black Panthers, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And then they started
Possibly.
filling in blanks.
I mean, I think it would have made a lot more sense for both characters because, I mean, Shuri is not ready to be Black Panther, but it kind of makes sense that they would urge her into being Black Panther if he's dead.
Well, I think
that
he
kind of
should-
makes sense.
They should have had M'Baku be the Black Panther,
Mhm.
but then kind of fail because he doesn't have the herb, right? So he's like
Mm.
he's trying to be the Black Panther, but he just can't do it because he doesn't have the heart-shaped herb.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where she goes through the like, I'm going to try to make it and see if it works, and then force a situation where she doesn't want to take it, but she's like, we're stuck here and we need somebody to take this herb so we can get out of the fucking, the building before we die. And then she has to take it.
She has to take it. Yeah. I mean, I don't hate her character completely. I just think, like this movie too feels almost like you're juggling between so many different characters, where it's really, it's about her, but it's really not about her. It's about all these other characters and stuff. So at that point, why even call it Black Panther? Like it should have just been called Wakanda
Forever. Yeah.
Right. Like, and I'm sure people still would have showed
Well,
up.
wasn't that what they were calling it at one point? And people were like, where's the Black Panther name? And then they slapped it back.
No, the
on
Black
there.
Panther name was always
It was always
and
there. It was just
little,
really
little
tiny.
writing at the top. Yeah.
Yeah. Just get rid of that and say that this is we're not making a Black Panther 2 yet, right? Because of Chadwick, and we're gonna figure it out. So this movie is like the gap in between, right? And to see, okay, is this a franchise, right? So then you can have all the you could still have the movie exist with all the characters bouncing between back and forth and their problems and stuff, but it's not, we're not seeing Black Panther just yet, right? It's not a Black Panther story officially because there's no Black Panther until we get to the ending of the movie, right? So, and they could have played up that angle, which they were, right? But it could have been, who's going to be the next Black Panther?
I think if you would have said, hey, we're making this movie about Wakanda and there's no Black Panther in it, and no one would have went to watch it.
Well, you don't sell it like that, but you sell it like this is not Black Panther 2. This movie is about who becomes the next Black Panther if we're playing with that angle of, okay, this is going to be a tribute movie.
But I'm saying, I don't think, even if you sold it on that angle, I don't think people would have wanted to see it. I think it would have bombed.
I mean, it wasn't going to make the amount of the first movie, right? Just because
no way.
Yeah. I think if Chadwick was still alive, yes.
I don't think it would have even with. I'm sorry.
I think so.
I think it would have hit $1 billion if he was still in it,
yes.
But it wouldn't have made the money because the first one was 1.8. It was a lot, wasn't it?
I think it could have made more than it did,
or 1.3.
Well, yeah. I'm thinking it would have made $1 billion, but what I'm saying is it would have still made less than the first one.
Yeah, of course it would. Yeah,
sure, yeah.
First one was pre-COVID.
Yeah. So I guess we got to talk about Namor, and then
I guess we got to talk about Namor.
Yeah, I don't like Namor in this movie at all. I think he's lame.
It's because he's Latino. I get it.
Oh man,
he was miscast. I don't think he should have been. He shouldn't have been.
We get one hero on the screen, and you guys already throw fit.
No, but you can have. You don't. You've got a Werewolf by Night.
Well, he's a villain though. He's not even a hero, Tony.
Yeah.
Werewolf by Night was.
No, he was the hero of the movie. Watch the movie. He was right. Namor was right. Hashtag Namor was right.
Oh man. Yeah, what were you saying, Finbarr?
He was trying to stop the colonizers.
I'm saying to Tony, he's got his hero. He's got Werewolf by Night. I thought he was going to be the Hispanic werewolf, but he was.
Oh yeah,
Jack Russell.
Technically we have Oscar Isaac and we have American Chavez.
Well, no, that actor is he's not Hispanic. He's Spanish.
Yeah. He's a
Right.
colonizer.
Oh,
Hold on, let me see if he's like. No, wait. Hold on.
no, he must be. He must have been. He
I
must have been
don't
born
think
in.
he's.
I'm sure he was
I'm
born in one of
looking
the
it up
South
right now.
American countries.
I'm looking at it
I'm sure
right
he
now.
was.
We'll see. Hold on.
While you're doing that,
No, he's Mexican.
yeah, I knew he was. Yeah, I
He's
knew he
just
was.
obviously he looks white.
Well, yeah, because he's the white faced him.
Well, we got Zoe Saldana. She's Latina.
Yeah, she's Cuban. Yeah.
Is she?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, even though she's green in the movie, she's a brown person.
But Namor, I think I said before, I would have had him Atlantean. I don't care about anybody complaining about similarities with Aquaman. Namor was Atlantis, and that's it. I don't agree with the change for change's sake.
I mean, I don't really mind that they obviously the race swapping and all of that because it did add some interesting stuff to the character. It's a little bit more unique. But the problem is, I mean, Tony could probably speak to this more because we talked about this where it's not even accurate. They mixed up the gods and stuff.
No, but
So,
even with it not being accurate, it's the same complaint you made about Moon Knight. If somebody has every issue of Namor's runs, they would be pissed off at the change, like you were pissed off.
Sure, shit. Yeah, I
Moon
can
Knight
see
change.
that's but I also feel like even though that is true, like I mean, I'm not gonna complain about race swappings too much as long as it's in
Well, they had
essence of the character because Moon Knight is race swapped.
Well,
if you
this
think
wasn't
about
in
it.
essence of the character. This was
Yeah,
completely.
that's the problem. Yes,
But again, I'm not saying this is good. I'm not saying that I agree with it. But if you watch the movie, they had to race swap Namor in order to fit into the context of the movie, the story they were trying to tell.
Yes.
Because it would be really weird for Namor to be white and be like, "Hey, we're gonna go take out those other white guys because we're oppressed." And they're like, "Dude, you're white." And they're like, "Oh yeah, I forgot. I'm also white, right?" So him being non-white had to happen in order for him to be like, "Look at me, we're brown and we're oppressed, and you're black and you're oppressed. Let's work together and stop the oppressors."
No, but I mean, most of his race are blue.
No, but they're only if you watch the movie,
only blue on
outside
land.
the water. Yeah, when they go back in the water, they're brown.
Was that I don't remember that being comic accurate though.
It's not. That's why I said it is not comic accurate. But
so
they did
why
it
not just
in order
stick?
to, because they're trying to, again, the motivation that they designed for Namor is based on the fact that he's an oppressed person of an oppressed people. Them being Atlanteans from a white country wouldn't work for what they wanted to do. Now, I'm not saying it's good. Again, not agreeing with it, but I'm saying that's what they wanted, and so that's how they manufactured to get what they wanted.
Well, a lot of what was interesting. I mean, he is white in the comics, but a lot of people thought he was Asian. Which
why?
I think it's just like his haircut and his
he was drawn that way every now and again.
I think maybe he was
to see it.
Okay, so what I think, and this is because I'm older, but if you look at a lot of World War II racial caricatures of Asian people, yeah, they kind of look like how Namor's drawn, and I think they drew Namor like that because at one point he was a bad guy. So I think that's where people are getting the idea. Well, he kind of looks like an Asian person, but he doesn't look like any Asian person.
Yes,
I've ever seen.
Yeah, no. I agree. It's just I've seen that comment before, and I'm like, I see what they're talking about, but like that's not what it was. So, yeah, I mean, I
was right. I was right about the vibranium being in Atlantis.
Yes, you were right about that. To some extent, yes.
No, I said that was the whole reason why that they were going to team up.
I think the synopsis had given that away, though. I don't think that was.
No, I said that long before. I said that the only way that would make sense why Namor is going over to Wakanda was because of vibranium.
Yeah, I don't remember you saying that. I need you to dig receipts up. I'm not going back. I'll let you do that. I'm
gonna have to go back because I
was wrong as to why. I said that he was going because he needed the vibranium to help fix Atlantis. I was completely wrong about that, but I was right that there was going to be vibranium in Namor's Atlantis.
And I was wrong about it being because it was the French that raided the ship. I was wrong about it I was saying it was
That was so
Latveria, but a
stupid.
lot of people had said that.
Why?
Well, a lot of people thought that was going to be Doctor Doom. Remember?
Yeah.
But it made no sense. Like of all the countries, why was France?
It's
like,
yeah, it was weird. It's a
Mhm.
real world country as well, and it was like they were.
it should have been
They
UN. It should have been like, oh, it was a group of UN.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So they could blame all the nations. Like all of yous were trying to get it right as a joint effort, not just France. Evil.
Yeah, it was weird. I think they maybe have done that intentionally. They were like, "Oh, we got to pick a."
I think they did that because France said they
banned
couldn't.
it, didn't they?
Yeah, they
Oh,
banned
yeah, I
the
remember.
movie. So like, oh yeah, you want to ban a movie? You're the bad guy.
Yeah, you're the bad guy. Oh man. It was a weird thing that was in the movie, and it's like doesn't really matter. It also could have been like a rogue faction in the US, right? Or it could have been potentially if you're going to connect some of this stuff, maybe with Sharon Carter and the Power Broker.
Well, I thought it was going to be Batroc because he's still alive at the end of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and he is French, and he was used in Civil War as also a mercenary.
Did they show him alive? Did they show him alive at the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
No, but
he didn't die. He
was shot in the face.
Oh, you shot.
Was
I
he?
don't remember that.
I don't remember him getting.
Right.
I remember him being on the helicopter, and then Falcon has to make a decision as to who to save, and he's gone.
He's pretty,
I don't remember him getting shot in the face.
He's pretty not in the face, but he's pretty explicitly shot and killed.
I'm gonna have to go back and look.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
I don't know whether it was the last episode or I don't remember who did it. It might have been Sharon. I don't remember. Somebody shot him and killed him.
Well, I mean speaking on that point, there's obviously at the end of this movie, Val is now kind of going to war with Wakanda. Like she's obviously setting up some type of confrontation. So why couldn't have it been her doing this? And she was like the mastermind pulling the strings.
Yeah, he is shot by Sharon Carter.
Oh,
right.
Yeah, and killed. Yeah,
they didn't say killed; just a shot. He's on the floor.
Yeah, I don't think he's getting any. I don't think he was. He wasn't getting any immediate medical attention at that point. So I think he's, unless there was a maester behind that rock, as they say. I don't think he was making it out of that.
You never know. Probably will come back just randomly. In Captain America 4, that would be funny. But yeah. Was there more? I'm trying to think. Was there something else?
Well, I mean, there's other mercenaries in the comics they could have had fill in that role.
Yeah, anybody. Why pick the French? It just didn't. Random. It's totally random. I mean, I guess the stuff with Ironheart. I don't like Ironheart in the comics. I think she's a character that's like way too connected with Tony Stark, where she doesn't have a personality, and she's just
her personality is I'm oppressed. I'm going to fight the oppression that I'm not actually getting.
Well, in the comics, it was just my goal is to find Tony Stark, and she was just an unlikable piece of crap character.
I quite like this. I quite like the way this actress is playing this one. This is
yes,
she's likable.
Yeah, I didn't actually mind her in the movie. I just think her place in the movie is really weird. Like
it was. And also, how the hell did Ramonda make it up there with her? Put her out of the water, but not get herself out of the water. Because remember, she's Ramonda's laying face down in the water, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Riri was on the I don't want to say the land, but she was on the floor that wasn't damaged.
Mm-hmm.
So she wasn't drowning still. So that means she placed her out of the water and then went back in.
No, I think she probably got her out and then had a bit of a funny turn and fell back in face down.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so she how did she push her up and out without also getting up and out herself?
I have no clue. I mean, that whole death is just why kill? What? That's also another thing too. Why? Okay, if you're gonna kill T'Challa, why are you gonna kill his mom in the same movie? Well, was that necessary?
It was a 1-2 punch.
It just feels it feels so like I don't even know what to think. I mean, we have 2 deaths in the movie, and it's like okay, like
also she died. She died swimming. I don't know. Seems kind
Oh
of
man.
weird.
I either wanted T'Challa to be killed by Namor or his mum to be killed by, like, outright stabbed through the heart.
Yeah, but then
Well,
With a-
how
with a
do that.
the fuck does Shuri survive that? She gets stabbed through, like she gets ran through. It goes completely through her fucking body.
She's got the magic synthesized herb.
Plot armor.
I mean, if they would have explained that, I guess what Finbar is saying does make sense because she's got the herb that Namor and them have, and they showed them getting stabbed and surviving. They should have made a bigger emphasis that this had some sort of different properties, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then like, oh, when she took it, because like she takes it, and they kind of don't like they don't analyze her or nothing. It's just like, okay, now she's Black Panther, and go off. It should have been like, oh, I feel different. Like T'Challa wasn't this strong, or like show her like breathing underwater or something. Like, oh shit, I can breathe underwater.
Yeah, just show some way that the woman is better than the guy was. Yeah.
Well, it's not that she's better. They basically showed that Namor's their herb is different, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And but they like I said, because she made a synthetic version that was like a combination of the two. Like, does she have Namor powers? Is she stronger than the original Black Panther? Because she was going toe to toe with Namor, and he was supposedly as strong as the Hulk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose.
Even though he punched M'Baku and didn't kill him, right? Like,
yeah.
What was the argument? The argument was that as longer he's out of water, the weaker he gets. Is that what they were saying?
Yeah, that's what there was. Yeah.
She took him somewhere that was really dry as well.
Which was stupid because he flies. If you watch that scene, right after the explosion, he flies in and hits her, right? And then instead of flying into the water, which is like 10 feet away from where they're at, he decides that he's gonna like try to beat her up first.
Yeah, I mean, on the point about the Queen getting killed by Namor, I don't think they were gonna do that. It was gonna be some passive way of him killing her, right?
Him
Because
flooding the
they
entire
gotta
nation.
redeem him.
Yeah, but him flooding the entire nation of Wakanda is just as bad as him sticking a trident through her heart.
Sure, but I think from an audience perspective, they're like, well, it's not as like impactful.
It's not as evil.
It's not as evil, cruel, I guess. Yeah. Like if he just was to kill T'Challa or the Queen like that, then you couldn't do a spin-off because people would hate that character. Like and they wouldn't redeem
That's
him
not
at all.
no, Blindy, that's not necessarily true. Darth Vader was quite evil when he was Darth Vader.
Yeah.
He was redeemed at the end.
I just feel like, well, here's the thing though, right? This is a character who's supposed to be a hero.
But he's also been a bad guy.
Superhero.
But he's also been a bad guy.
He was a bad guy first.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, but I'm just saying from like an audience perspective. Yeah, he was. But like from an audience, I'm only saying this from why I could see why they wouldn't do this, right? It's like the character, everybody would see that moment and they potentially would not like the character, even if they try to redeem him. They're like, oh, but he still did this.
Did you watch Game of Thrones?
No, I didn't.
Tony, did you?
No.
Right. The first episode, what's his name? The guy who's banging his sister. Doesn't matter what his name is. Anyway, he pushes a young kid off of a tower. In about 2 seasons' time, everybody loves him.
Yeah, but that's 2 seasons worth of episodes.
But
we're talking from movie to movie.
But as it stands, Marvel can't make a movie with Namor anyway. Not on his own.
They could. They just.
But they'd have to pay Universal.
Yeah.
But
I said, could they make a movie with Namor and the Hulk and say, well, it's not a Namor movie, so it's okay. It's not a Hulk movie, so it's okay.
No, I think you can still have him stab either T'Challa or his mum through the heart, and I think you could still get the audience liking him in the end. It would just take some really clever writing.
And I don't trust them to do that. It's not like Peacemaker. Like Peacemaker, they did that and it worked.
Well, there you go. Yeah, Peacemaker's a prime example.
But that's totally different from Marvel's
How?
MO. Like,
but are they actually going to have Namor come back and be a hero?
Yeah, I don't know.
Eventually, yeah.
I think they will. But It's gonna
But
take
think
some
he's
time.
he's been a villain in the
He'll be
comic.
involved in. I'm pretty sure he'll be involved in the X-Men.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is he was a villain. Then he became a hero
Or
for a long
Fantastic
time,
Four.
and then he became But then he
Yeah.
became a villain again not too long ago. Remember when he joined the Cabal?
Mm-hmm.
So you could have just kept him as a villain the whole time.
They could have. They could have kept him a villain the whole time.
What they should have did was, like Finbarr saying, they should have started the movie off with Shuri's on comms, like talking to somebody, right? You're like,
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, you're moving in on that thing, right? On that vibranium that we found in the ocean,
Mhm.
and then you're just hearing it from her perspective, so you're assuming she's talking to Black Panther,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden she's like, I lost you, what's going on? And then a couple minutes later, you like see Namor show up, and he just throws the fucking helmet down.
Mhm.
He's like, stay out of my ocean. So you implied, yeah, he fucking killed Black Panther.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, they could have. I mean, there's. I might have to even do a entire episode on this, or just do a video about this movie, because I'm sure, like, rewatching it, I would come up with a lot more ideas of what they could have done. But yeah, I guess that's gonna end Phase 4. That this is the end.
Thank God.
Hopefully, Phase 5 is
Thank
much
God.
better. Hopefully, I don't have much faith, but we'll see.
What have we got first? Ant-Man.
Ant-Man, then we got Secret Invasion, Guardians of the Galaxy, Loki Season 2, Ironheart, the Marvels, obviously. So, and some stuff is going to get delayed, like Echo.
I think you'll see
and
some
What
stuff
If.
getting. I think you'll see some stuff getting cancelled.
I don't think cancel. I think they're going to push them back, just save them for.
They're going to be
another
delayed
year.
indefinitely.
Well,
Or that.
This phase. So this phase was a strange one, and this phase was too quick. It only spanned 2 years. And I
Yeah.
don't think any phase before this has only
Well,
spanned 2 years.
it's more so like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was just they were. I think they were a bit lost.
Yeah.
And I think he was maybe trying to work it on the fly where he structured his next 3 phases, and he just thought, right, let's just end this one at Black Panther
Mm-hmm. Pretty
move
much,
on.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
hopeful for the next one. I hope Ant-Man's going to be good.
So any
It looks
clothing?
good.
Clothing.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Clothing.
clothing.
Closing thoughts. This is how you know the show has gone on too long. My words, my thoughts. I can't express them anymore. But yeah, what do you got to say? And then we'll end it, Tony. You got the final words.
Movies continue to be awesome because I love Marvel, love the MCU.
Oh man,
you can't fix perfection. Is all I'm saying.
I don't know about that.
But this was by far the worst phase.
No, I don't think it was.
I
mean,
I have to agree. Yes.
Any phase with Thor 2 in it, and I think that's the worst phase.
Thor 2 is terrible.
Thor
but
2 was better than Thor 4.
Yeah.
Hot take.
I am gonna have to agree with that. Yeah. But yeah, that's gonna end the show. We're at 2 hours, which is the limit. We're going past 2 hours now. So I'm gonna end it here. Next week, we're gonna be doing DC. For the people who are watching on the replay, just wait a bit. I'll do the chapter times. But yeah, thanks to my guest, and thanks for the people who popped up in the chat. And see you next week. Peace.
Deuces.